What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Birds on the Farm podcast. It has been way too long since we did one of these. As always, I'm Sandy McMillan. I'm joined today by co-host Kareem. We've got a ton of exciting stuff to talk about. We've got minor league data. It's actually here. The season has started, not just at the big leagues, but at the minor leagues as well. They've been playing in AAA for almost a week now. We've got opening day for the other three affiliates coming tomorrow from the time you'll be watching this. So that's super exciting. But today, our primary goal is to really preview the system for you. So if you're watching this episode, it's going to give you a good idea of how things could shake out this year, who to be watching at each level. We're just going to go through Kareem's top 30, which is posted over on Twitter. If you want to go see that, check that out. Give him a follow. Does a ton of good work over there. But let's just get right into it here. So we're going to break this into three tiers, which actually works pretty nicely with the way the system shakes out. So on this list, if you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at on Twitter, the final column, you'll see FV, future value. That's something to do on Fangraphs. We're not going to dig into that too much today, but it's basically a good way to say, hey, what's this guy's ceiling? How do we project this guy at the major league level? And the Cardinal system pretty evenly breaks into three tiers where your top 10 guys are pretty strong. Your middle 10 guys, there's upside there, but a lot of them, you're looking at guys with lower ceilings. And then your bottom 10, there's some wild cards, but there's also a lot of guys with lower future values. So it'll work nicely to split that into three. We'll go through each of them. We'll answer some questions about each of them, and then we'll move on and talk a bit about what we've got so far this year. So starting off in the third tier here with number 30 on Kareem's list is Jack Ralston. He's a right-handed pitcher. Next up is outfielder Juan Bin Cho, who I know there's going to be a ton of discussion about. A little bit of a disappointing year last year. People had some high expectations. One of my favorite guys in the system, Ian Bedell at number 28, right-handed pitcher at Memphis. Number 27, we've got Travis Honeyman. He's an outfielder. At 26, we've got reliever Andre Granillo. You could see him factor into the major league roster at some point this year. The same goes for number 25, Matt Swanson, another righty. At 24, we've got Max Radjic. He actually, I believe, made a start the other day. Is that true? So we've already seen him in action a bit, potentially. At 23, you've got Zach Levinson. He's an outfielder. 22, you got the first catcher on the list, Ryan Campos. 21 is Juan Guerrero Salas, and 20 is Ishan Henderson. So let's get right into these, Kareem. Who of these guys do you want to talk about? Who sticks out to you?
Yeah, I think let's start off with number 30.
Okay.
Right-hand pitcher Jack Ralston. I posted on Twitter if anyone had questions about my list, and one of the questions was just curious about the inclusion of Ralston. I know that he's one of the more under the radar names in the Cardinals organization. He's been with the organization since 2019, drafted out of UCLA. So one of the more longer tenured players in this organization, but he was finally able to break out last year, have sustained results, really pitch well towards the end of that stretch at Springfield. And I think Ralston has always had the stuff to be an MLB caliber reliever, but it's just about, putting it all together, being healthy, throwing strikes. And I thought that he really showed that last year, especially towards the end of his stretch at Springfield. He's going to be starting the season at Springfield again. I wish he would have gotten a shot to start at Memphis, but it's understandable considering all the names that the Cardinals have added, in the offseason to, help with some of that reliever depth at AAA. But I think what stands out most about Ralston is, his splitter. It's a pitch that he's really developed throughout his career in the Cardinals organization. Starting off, when the Cardinals drafted him in 2019, he was known for his curveball. It's a pitch that gets a ton of depth from his, high over the top slot. And that was, the secondary that he leaned on the most at the start of his pro career. But his splitter really blossomed last year, was one of the more productive off-speed offerings in minor league baseball. The pitch sits like around 82 miles an hour. Doesn't get a ton of arm side run. It's moved straight down, gets solid depth, 3 inches of induced vertical break. And, from that 7.1 foot release that he, throws from, he just creates such a steep approach angle on that pitch, and it performed really well last year. One of the best, like I said, one of the best pitches in the Cardinals organization. And I think that's a pitch that can really carry him to the big leagues. He's not the most exciting prospect, obviously, but I do think that, like I said, the splitter, one of the better offerings. I think it's a pitch that will at least carry him to the big leagues at some level. Um, whether he's going to be a staple in a big league bullpen, I'm not quite sure we can say that just yet. But someone that could at least move back and forth from AAA to the major leagues. I think there's enough in there. Like I said, I want to see him at the AAA level to see what the stuff is like there. But um, I do think he's one of the more under the radar, underappreciated relief pitching prospects in the organization.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, you could see him at some point soon be looked at by the major league club just because they're going to need help in the bullpen this year, especially with some of these guys getting stretched out as starters. So it's going to be interesting to see how they treat him.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just talk about another relief pitching prospect.
Come on.
Number 26 on my ranking, Andre
There
Granillo.
we go.
Yeah, Granillo's got some of the most swing and miss stuff, in the Cardinals organization. I think his slider, one of the best sliders in the organization. It's a pitch that he really leans on against right-handed batters and found great success last year, holding right-hand hitters to, a 170 batting average last year, 48% whiff rate. He also throws a fastball that's got a cut ride shape, similar to a Ralston from that high slot. Throws a little bit harder than Ralston, more so in the mid 90s, but he really leans on the fastball and slider combo in those right-handed matchups and found great success last year against lefties. The slider does take a backseat a little bit. He leans on his changeup a little bit more, which I think is a pitch that flashes, gets a ton of horizontal break. And considering his fastball more of that cut ride shape, it's got a really it's got a really solid horizontal tunnel off that fastball, which I think, it has some promise in that sense. And while it hasn't performed at, the clip that you'd like to see, and, the command hasn't necessarily been there. And in those matchups, the fastball command could be a little bit better. But I think this is someone that, with that 3-pitch mix, fastball slider, he can really lean on against righties. The against lefties, I think the changeup is going to continue to take steps up in his development. I just think this is someone that's really moldable into a future middle relief type, and I think the Cardinals could use a pitcher like this in their bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. And just want to throw in there, he had a really nice outing yesterday for Memphis in a bit of mop up duty, but pitched 2 innings, recorded 3 strikeouts, which is always good to see. Didn't allow any runs or hits, which is very nice. But absolutely, more likely than Ralston, you'll see Granillo at the big league level and soon. I think he's one of the guys the Cardinals have tabbed to be on the Memphis shuttle this year. If you're a longtime listener of Deal in the Cards, you've heard his name tossed around there several times, and we're waiting for him to get that opportunity. So.
Yeah, I think next guy I want to talk about, number 22, catcher Ryan Campos. The Cardinals drafted him in the 4th round last year. He's got some of the best, contact rates last year at the, collegiate Division I level. I think this is someone really good swing decisions. I think that he does have a stroke that produces a ton of ground balls, but he has an ability to go the other way with those ground balls and hit them at 95 plus miles an hour, and he finds a lot of success on his ground balls for the profile to play solidly well. Line drives, like I said, more of a ground ball slap hitter, hits line drives. Not a ton of power. I don't see a lot of power projection with someone like a Ryan Campos, but if he can hit for a solid enough batting average, get on base at a good clip, and he's someone that I think he's a better defensive player than credited. I think some of the intangibles, he's a really high character guy. I think that from that sense, I think, at the very least, you're looking at someone that, if he hits his stride, he could be a backup catcher at the next level, which I think, that's certainly valuable, and if offensively we could see a little bit more power production tapping into that, I think that, he could develop into a starting catcher type. I see a lot of similarities with Campos to someone like a Jimmy Crooks coming out of
Mm.
college, out of Oklahoma. But I wouldn't say the power potential is necessarily up to par with Jimmy Crooks, but I just think from a bat to ball sense, someone that's going to spray the ball, someone that's going to hit for a high BABIP relative to how much he makes contact. I think that this is someone that I see Ryan Campos becoming at the as he ascends through the system.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see some other catchers on this list, but I was telling this to a friend the other day. Like the one position I still will always trust the Cardinals to develop is the catching position. It just feels like there's been so much talent that's come through the system in recent years. Um, Obviously, none of them have been like Yadier Molina, but the Cardinals have done a great job of consistently refilling that position. They've graduated a number of solid major leaguers, and I see that continuing.
Yeah, the next guy I want to talk about, number 21. So next spot right after Campos, Juan Gerardo Salas. Salas is really interesting, man. He gets a ton of ride on his four-seam fastball.
Mhm.
Got good spin traits. This is someone that commands the ball at a really high clip. We saw that four-seamer consistently in the top third of the strike zone down at Palm Beach last year. Breakout season with a 2.62 ERA over 113 in a third innings last year. And, he's going to make that step up to Peoria to start this year. Really excited to see how his stuff holds up at that level. But Salas really intrigues me primarily due to that fastball. I think that with a potential velocity uptick, it's closer to that 92 range right now. But if he can get that up to, 94, 95 more consistently, which, in a bullpen role, I don't think that's out of question. I think we've seen him flirt with mid 90s. The breaking stuff is still a little bit of a work in progress. I think that the secondary that I have most confidence in right now is that changeup that he throws. Really sells that pitch that well against lefties, but still working on the breaking stuff. He throws a gyro slider and a curveball that have performed decently, but he doesn't particularly have great feel for those two pitches. But I do think that someone like Salas, when you have the fastball characteristics that he has, and developing pitch mix, I think we're looking at someone that could end up being like a back end of the rotation type, or depth rotation type. But I do think there's potential if Salas moves to the bullpen, where some of his stuff can unlock with a velocity uptick.
Yeah. As we finish up with these guys, I just wanted to add a couple quick hitters of my own, some guys I'm interested in. Right off the bat, Ian Bedell sticks out to me. I know Kareem's not as high on him as some people are, and I get that. Of these guys, though, he seems to be one of the only ones in this bottom 10 the Cardinals are still interested in giving opportunities to start. He had a lot of injuries early in his minor league career, but he broke out a little bit in late 2023, early 2024, leveled off again, though, since then. Unfortunately, his first outing of the year with AAA was pretty rough the other day. Only got through about 1 2/3 of an inning before he surrendered 5 runs, although they did win the game, so that's nice. But I wonder how many opportunities the Cardinals will give him and whether they see him as a potential bullpen arm in the future. And then just two other guys, Travis Honeyman, he was drafted in the 5th round by the Cardinals just a couple of years ago, so he was a higher pick. Obviously, they're still interested in what he can do as an outfielder. I do think there's room for him to be potentially a really solid player, but you're going to need to see some growth, and he hasn't really rocketed through the system the way they thought he might. And then one more is Zach Levinson. I find some similarities between him and Honeyman. I see, potential to be a legit player. It's just he hasn't shown a ton of it yet. So we'll see what he's got in the tank. I think those are two guys to watch this year, though, just because I think the ceiling's a little higher than it is with some of the other guys on this list.
Yeah, I think specifically with Bedell, I think his long-term future, if he has a major league role,
Yeah.
it's going to be in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And I honestly would like to see him have an opportunity to pitch in relief, so we know what that stuff is like.
Absolutely.
Bedell has been someone that has gotten up to 95, 96 in the past. We haven't seen it consistently, especially especially at the AAA level with the major league ball. He's been living closer to the low 90s on his
It's
fastball.
not going to work.
And I don't think that fastball is going to play well enough at, that 91, 92 range. But his slider, I think, has the potential to be a plus pitch. I thought that double A, especially, last year and the year prior, I thought that he found a lot of success with that pitch. It's a newer addition to his arsenal, not one that he threw in college. That pitch, with the help of Griffin Roberts, who was a Cardinals, I think the Cardinals picked him in the second round or a
Yeah, I
competitive.
remember who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, with the help of him, he worked on his slider, and that pitch has blossomed into his best off-speed offering. And again, with Bedell, it's going to hinge on that velocity playing up. I think when his fastball is closer to that mid 90s range, when his gyro sliders getting up to the mid 80s, like we've seen it, I think that's where he's going to find most of his success. And I think that more than likely that's going to be in a bullpen role.
Yeah. Are you surprised the Cardinals keep starting him? Like, I was kind of surprised to see him in the rotation at AAA this year.
Always going to need starters, right?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
at AAA, I mean, Tink Hence, well, I'm sure we're going to talk about this
Yeah.
at
We'll
some
talk
point, but
yeah.
Tink Hence is starting the season on the IL for AAA Memphis. So
Very unfortunate.
you're always going to need depth starters in the minor league. So I think that's why, Bedell is continuing to start. But like I said, I think a long-term role for him will definitely be in the bullpen if he's going to contribute at the next level.
Yeah. Well, this has been a super fun conversation already. We're just going to take a quick break for some messages from our sponsors. First is the presenting sponsor of the show, 314 Sports Cards. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet, Missouri. So that's pretty close for a lot of you local fans. It's 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. They buy and sell all sorts of trading cards, Pokemon, sports cards, really whatever you're looking for, they probably have it. It's an awesome place to be. They've got the newest selection of packs, boxes, and single cards. Whether you're looking for local players or stars around the league, 314's got it. Seriously, it's a great place to spend an afternoon, go in with some friends, walk out with a couple of cool cards. I know over on Dealing the Cards, Andrew spends a lot of his money there. He's starting to develop a little trading card addiction, but seriously, is a great spot. Go in, talk to Devin, tell him we sent you in. Seriously, it's a ton of fun. Also, just another message from another one of our sponsors here.
The Dealing the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries.
All right. So we're going to jump into our second tier of guys here, moving from number 20 to number 11. Take note as you hear these guys, like, yeah, some of these guys are more exciting than the players we just went over. These are guys with higher ceilings, or they've proven more at the minor league level. They're probably a little bit closer to getting called up in some cases. So let's jump right into that. Number 20 is Ishan Henderson. He's a left-handed pitcher. 19 is Cesar Prieto. He's a utility infielder. He spent the last couple of years at Memphis. He was acquired in the Jack Flaherty trade, I believe, from Baltimore. Number 18 is Brian Holiday, a right-handed pitcher. He was drafted in, was he a 5th-round pick? Am I making that up, or is that correct? 3rd, is that out of Oklahoma, maybe? Where was he taken out of?
Oklahoma State.
Okay, Oklahoma State. Yeah, very recently here. Funny holiday, but not related to the other holidays from Oklahoma State. Number 17 is Zach Showalter. He's a relief prospect acquired in the same trade as Cesar Prieto from Baltimore. 16 is Luis Gaslam, one of Kareem's favorite guys in the whole system. Obviously, he's higher on him than some other guys, but I'm sure you'll hear about that. Number 15 is Darlin Saladin, another guy we're very excited about. 14 is Gordon Graceffo. I'm sure Cardinals fans know about him. He's been around a while. 13, outfielder Matt Koperniak. Almost made the opening day roster. Had a real shot, it looked like. 12 is Chen Wei Lin. 11 is Sem Reversa. Both these guys are right-handed pitchers with serious upside. And then, yeah, I guess we'll end it at 11. We'll save the top 10 for the final part here. So, Kareem, who do you want to talk about? Who do you want to jump into right away?
Yeah, let's start off talking about number 19 infielder Cesar Prieto. Like you said, he was a part of the Jack Flaherty trade in 2023, which also included Zach Showalter and Drew Rom. I think the key thing to look at with Prieto is just his bat to ball skills. This is someone that posted a 95% in zone contact rate last year, which is among the top at AAA last year. Really impressive contact ability, but I think the power is underrated with him, especially last year. He saw a jump in his ISO by 44 points. I thought that we saw him really get to that pull side power. I think Prieto is someone that has a really pull heavy approach. And when he's hitting the ball on the ground, not a ton of success, but when he lifts the ball in the air, we saw him find pretty good success last year. And like I said, the power numbers, I'm not saying this guy's going to be, a 20 plus home run bat or anything like that, but I think there's more power in his game than people realize. Even if the exit velocities aren't consistently good, if you're going to elevate the ball to the pull side, you're going to get to some of that power, which I think Prieto showed last year. And some of his raw exit velocities were heading in the right direction as well. But I still think that he's not going to consistently hit the ball hard. And with that profile, you have to pull the ball to manifest your power production. And I thought that we saw that last year with him. So I think that Prieto could, carve out a role as an MLB reserve infielder. I think that there's enough in there to play second base, third base. I think he profiles a little bit better at second base just because like the arm strength is not quality enough to consistently play at third, in my opinion. But like his offensive skill set, and I think the versatility of him playing second base and third base is what really excites me with his profile.
Yeah, and with those kind of contact skills, like you're going to run into some hits every once in a while, even if you're not really hitting the ball over the fence too often. So it's not bad. He's a name we've also heard quite a bit on Dealing the Cards because he's been in roster discussions at least, which is a great sign from a guy who really nobody had any expectations about coming over in the Flaherty trade.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add a little bit more on Prieto. He's got one of the most aggressive approaches at the plate.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the biggest red flag that, people talk about is, that chase rate. Last year was at 44%, one of the worst in minor league baseball. He does swing a lot inside the strike zone. And when he finds pitches in the zone, he rarely misses. He's going to do damage against it, but would like to see him hone in on that approach a bit. I think that with Prieto, I still want to see him be aggressive inside the strike zone, but if he could do a little bit better of a job at just, staying within his zone and not expanding, I think that will, help him a lot if he wants to be a contributor at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just for people like chasing is bad. It's bad when you miss, but it's almost worse when you make contact, right? Because like if you're Prieto and you're that great a contact hitter, you're probably going to hit the ball if you're swinging, regardless of where it is. It could be over your head and you might make contact, but when you do that, that's just very low quality contact, and that end up with a lot of pop outs or slow ground outs, stuff like that, where it's really just an automatic out once it gets into the field.
Yeah, exactly. Number 17, right-hand pitcher Zach Showalter is the next guy I want to talk about.
Another guy in the same trade.
Same trade.
Did Mo cook?
He's very exciting. I think his long-term role will probably be in the bullpen, but it seemed like he was stretched out in spring. We could see him start the season in Peoria's starting rotation. I think that's one thing I'm going to be watching at the start of the minor league season, especially down at Peoria, Palm Beach. A lot of interesting names that I'm curious to see whether they're going to start or relieve. And Showalter is one of those guys. I think that, his profile is pretty easy. He's got a fastball that's a plus pitch. It's not a velocity monster by any sense. He sits in the low 90s, but man, the slot that he throws from, the low launch, he's able to get 14 inches of vert from his fastball from a 4.6 foot vertical release. So it's a fastball that's pretty much rising and is tough to pick up for hitters. He's really deceptive. And it had an absurd whiff rate at Palm Beach last year. Outside of the heater, like, I don't know what to make of his rest of his arsenal. It's not looking great. I mean, he does throw a sweeper at 77 miles an hour with a ton of glove side movement and a changeup, but neither of those pitches has really performed at the minor league level just yet, and he doesn't have great feel for either of those, which gives some pause in, some of the long-term certainty of him being a starter. I think that he's really going to need some of this secondary stuff to come along if he's going to want to carve out a role beyond just, bullpen piece. If he wants to be a starter at the next level, I think some of the secondaries are going to have to take a step up. Showalter mentioned to me that he's actually working on a cutter to go along with, his sweeper and changeups, which should be interesting to see how he uses that offering this year. We didn't see it in spring training, spring breakout game or anything, but curious to see what the specs of that pitch are like and how he implements it to his arsenal, because I think he's going to need to lean on some of the off-speed stuff more in a starting pitching role. I know the fastball is spectacular. I think it's the best fastball in the Cardinals organization, but
high praise.
Yeah, even at that velocity, I think it's going to play. But I do think developing some of the secondaries, specifically if he wants to be a starter, is going to be key for him. But he's got a lot of talent. I can see why the Cardinals are moving him back to the rotation. He's one of the more exciting names in the Cardinals pitching pipeline. So him at least getting a shot to work out as a starter is exciting. But even if he ends up in a bullpen role, I do think this is someone that's one of the more electric relief pitching prospects in the system.
It's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, Showalter's fastball off the charts. He's really fun to watch, and he's racked up the strikeouts in minor league baseball. So, where do you think he could end the season if the Cardinals were aggressive with him?
Here's the thing: if they're going to be diligent with him, if he's going to work in the rotation,
yeah, it's going to be slower movement, of course.
Yeah, he's going to start the season in Peoria. So like, I think he probably pitches the whole season in Peoria if he's in the rotation, if they stretch him out. If they commit to him as a bullpen piece, I think he can move a little quickly. But again, I want to see some refinement in those breaking pitches. I don't think he can just purely go on that lean on the fastball, even though that is a plus pitch. I want to see more development in the secondaries. And with that, I would like to see him spend, a lot of his time in Peoria, unless he's blowing the world and, setting the world on fire and just having so much success down there that you can't resist. But I would like to see the Cardinals be a little bit diligent with him.
Yeah. Who else do you want to talk about in this list of 10 guys?
Next guy, Luis Gastelum.
Yes, I knew we get a Luis Gastelum part from Kareem. You could not.
Yeah, well, I mean, talk about a guy that's skyrocketing through the system. I know we talked about that in one of the early episodes of Birds on the Farm, that, I could see this guy really ascending through the system. And I mean, he skipped Peoria. He's starting the season in Springfield already, which is
crazy.
I mean,
maybe the Cardinals are listening to us. Is it possible?
Maybe, but yeah, I mean, Gastelum's changeup, one of the best pitches in minor league baseball, not just the Cardinal system. Generates -2 inches of induced vertical break, 15 inches of arm side run. Absurd. In Cardinals fans, you saw that pitch in spring training. It's fantastic. I think that you talk about a guy that could push himself into Memphis, could potentially get a look at the major leagues if he's performing well. I mean, he's my highest ranked relief pitching prospect in the system. And I really think he could move quickly already. We already saw him ascend through Peoria. Didn't have to pitch at that level because I do think that he has the stuff to work out in the upper levels. We don't need to see what this guy has at Peoria. He's going to play well at the upper levels of the minor leagues with that changeup. And I think that he could really push himself into the Cardinals bullpen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, he was throwing his change up to 48% of the time. Like, do you think he should keep doing that? Because, I mean, it's that great a pitch. Even MLB Pipeline, and they can be behind on some of these things. They're grading it as a 70 grade pitch, which is, basically top of the line. Could you see him throwing it that much this year? And is that the right call for him?
Absolutely. I mean, I could see him throw that pitch even more.
Yeah.
But I, I think Gastelum's rest of his arsenal is a little bit underrated. I think his fastball will play well enough. He actually has two different fastballs. He's got a four-seamer that gets a little bit more vert, and a sinker that has a bit more horizontal and kills a little bit more vert than the four-seam. But I just think, the fastball, the slider, he's got a mid 80s gyro slider that he has a good feel for spin for. And I think some of the results on that pitch have been a little bit inconsistent, but I think Gastelum has, the arsenal beyond just the changeup to contribute at the next level. But let's be honest, that changeup is pretty damn good, and he can carry his way to the big leagues with that pitch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this, go take the opportunity. Look up Luis Gaslam on Twitter. You'll find the highlight videos. Like that changeup, it was either called a strike or whiffed on over 50% of the time he threw it at Palm Beach. Like that is ridiculous. That's unbelievable. So seriously, do yourself a favor, go watch him a little bit. Anybody else you want to talk about here, Kareem?
Matt Koperniak.
Okay, come on.
So my number,
I know you're
13,
a truther.
Yeah, number 13th ranked prospect in my opinion, and he honestly could be higher. Obviously, have to factor in his age and him not. He's not the youngest guy performing at AAA competition, but I do think that someone like Koperniak has the skill set to at least be a fourth outfielder type. I think this is someone that can play all three outfield positions. Don't want him in center field as his primary position, but I think he can handle his own there in a reserve role at least. More of a corner guy, like I said, but I think his offensive game really improved last year, specifically in terms of his power production. He added bat speed during the offseason heading into his 2024 season, and we really saw the fruits of that labor in the 2024 season, where his barrel rate jumped, his hard hit rate jumped, his 90th percentile exit velocity jumped. And from a power standpoint, I really liked sneaky pop and not pull side pop. He goes the opposite field with authority, which is really fun to see. So I think we can project him to hit for some power at the next level. And this has been someone that has always had the bat to ball skills coming out of college. I think that was really what carried him to he wasn't drafted, but the Cardinals signed him as an undrafted free agent out of Division III ball. And throughout his minor league career, he's always hit for a high average, always has done a job at avoiding strikeouts, putting the bat to the ball, but the power uptick is noticeable. And I think it gives him a well-rounded skill set offensively, where I think that we could see him as a piece. We could see him at the next level with this skill set paired with the defense in the corner outfield, his ability to play center. I just think that he's a well-rounded player that I think could fit nicely as a bench piece. But hey, I wouldn't put it against him carving out a role as an everyday corner outfielder. I don't think that's out of the question with him. But I would say more than likely a bench piece. But if there's a prospect in the Cardinals organization that out of nowhere, you're looking at this guy and he's a everyday contributor for you, I think it's him.
Wow. That's high praise. And I mean, you think about that baseball journey, and we had Nolan Sparks on, and he got to tell us a little bit about what it's like to go from, the AAA level all of a sudden to being a prospect with big league potential. Like, that's awesome for Koperniak. Also, notably, a Team Great Britain WBC legend. I just want to throw that out there. So, yeah, it's really exciting. A lot of us thought he should have made the opening day roster. I really thought he deserved a look. I was excited to see what he could do. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little longer, but I think you're right. I do believe he factors into this roster at some point, probably in the near future here. And he's one of the first guys up if there's an injury in the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals adding him to the 40-man roster this offseason was pretty telling into, how they view him. And
Yeah.
I think, the Cardinals really worked on this guy. This is someone that, like I said, undrafted free agent. And for him to now, be on a 40-man roster, for him to ascend the way that he has, make improvements to his bat speed, the Cardinals have really developed this guy into a pretty good player. And I think that the player development staff deserves a lot of credit with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone else you want to talk about, or should I throw in a couple quick hitters here to finish off the category?
You can go ahead and talk about some guys that, jump off to you.
Well, I did want to throw the name Chenwei Lin out there. I don't know if you wanted to talk about him, but he had such a great year last year, and the Cardinals should be really excited with what they found in him. He's a super exciting player. Last year, in 22 starts at Palm Beach, so the A level, 2.79 ERA, 116 innings pitched, 123 strikeouts, which is awesome stuff. Kept his whip right around 1. Huge improvement, by the way, from the previous year. Went across 2 levels, including the rookie league and Palm Beach. He had a ghastly 6.05 ERA, although the sample size was really small. So really a full season of ball from him. I'm really excited about what he could be. I do think, obviously he's really far away, but I think you're looking at this young crop of pitchers. We talked about it last year. Palm Beach had one of the most exciting rotations any affiliate has had together in a long time. That included Chenwei Lin. It included Darlin Saladin. You'll see these guys move up through the system, and they've got starter potential. Obviously, we can't, project this guy's going to be an ace right now because he's so far from the big leagues. But even if just 1 or 2 of those guys from that league works out, wow, you're talking about some serious surplus the Cardinals have generated. So I'm really excited about who he could be. And then one more in here that I want to talk about. I want to give Gordon Graceffo a little bit of recognition. Cardinals fans have been really down on him, and I think that's kind of unfair. There were some unrealistic expectations thrown at Graceffo. I don't love the way the organization has dealt with him. It feels like they've been, I don't know, a bit wishy-washy on what his future is, whether it's a reliever or a starter. But I do think he's going to be a reliever at the big league level. The fastball is great. It's one of the stronger ones from any starter in the system, at least. It's not fantastic, but it'll play. I think some of the other stuff is pretty good too. I do believe he has bullpen upside in a way that a guy like Michael McGreevy probably doesn't.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Chenwei Lin, because I do think that Lin is someone out of my top 30 prospect list that I could see, potentially factoring into, the top 5 in the near future. I think it's him. It's tough to be aggressive with guys that have only pitched at the, Florida State League level. So I want to see him prove that he can handle pitching, at high A, pitching at double A in the Texas League. But it was a really encouraging season. I didn't expect him to control the ball as well as, what he had showcased last year. I thought that in terms of just his mechanics, a lot smoother than what he had showcased the prior season. And we really saw him command the ball better. The fastball lives at the heart of the plate right now. I'd like to see him, attack the top third of the strike zone more consistently with that offering. The changeup plus pitch. He worked in a splitter here and there, which I'm really curious to see that pitch. I think it's probably his most interesting and intriguing secondary offering, but didn't use it a whole lot last year. And he also has a slider that was his go-to swing and miss offering against right-handed hitters. And I thought that in terms of results, that pitch played well. I think the velocity can be a little harder, though. And I think he can get a bit tighter of a gyro shape. The pitch, funny enough, averaged arm side run on the pitch as opposed to glove side movement, which is kind of interesting. He's more of a pronator that struggles to, supinate the ball. So not a ton of horizontal, literally on the opposite end of the gyro. But I do think that Lin when we're talking about a guy that's sitting in the mid to high 90s with his
I mean, he
heater,
touched 101 last year.
touched
Which is
101.
insane. Threw 12 fastballs over 100 miles an hour. I meant to include that. Like, that's elite velocity from a guy that young. It's insane.
And I think there's room for growth
Yeah.
too. He's 6'7",
Oh my
very, very
Big
lanky.
frame. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very lanky right now. But imagine if this guy is sitting 97 to 99 on his fastball more consistently.
And touching 101, 102. Like, that's crazy stuff.
And that's out of the rotation.
Yeah.
What is this guy gonna do in 1 inning spurts? Like, I don't even know. Like, is he gonna be sitting close to 99, 100 miles an hour on that fastball?
So if the Cardinals wanted to use him as a reliever, does he have closer upside?
I don't. It will hinge on the secondary stuff.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that, because the fastball, as hard as it is, it's more of a weak contact option than a true swing and miss offering. It doesn't get a ton of induced vertical break. It's not that carry fastball that you're going to get tons of swings and misses on, and it's not like he throws from a super flat angle. It's over the top, and doesn't get a ton of vert on that fastball. So more of a weak contact option than a true swing and miss. But if he can continue to develop those secondaries, the slider, the changeup, like I said, the splitter is fun. Because I think that's where the swing and miss stuff is going to come from, working his fastball off those offerings.
Yeah.
I will say back end bullpen upside for sure, but want to see him developed as a starter as long as he shows that he can do it. And
absolutely.
Very, very intrigued by him. As far as guys at the lower levels, pitching prospects, he's definitely one of the more exciting names, and Cardinals fans should definitely be watching to see how his season progresses. He will be starting the season on the IL for Peoria. Not sure what's going on there, but hopefully he doesn't miss too much time and we could see him pitch sooner rather than later. But yeah, Chen-Wei Lin is definitely one of the more exciting young arms in the system.
Yeah. We can jump right into our top 10 here. So this is the last group of guys. We're going to get right up to some of the guys you guys have heard a ton about, some of the most exciting players in the system. Number 10 is right-handed pitcher Michael McGreevy. He's been at the AAA level forever. He started at the major league level before. He's going to get a chance soon, though. We're very excited about him. Number 9 is Leonardo Bernal, who has been on the radar for a while here. He was a super young catcher when he started to make some really impressive. I mean, he's still really young. So there's a lot to like there. Number 8 is Chase Davis. I believe he was drafted in the first round recently out of Arizona. Lot to love. Big power profile. Number 7 is infielder Thomas Sajazi. He was acquired in that Jordan Montgomery, Chris Stratton trade at the deadline in 2023. In the same trade as number 6, Tekoa Roby, another right-handed pitcher. Both of them will factor into the plans at the big league level, whether it's this year or next year. We've already seen Sajazi debut last year. Number 5 is catcher Jimmy Crooks. He's a guy I've been high on for a long time. I know Kareem really likes him. There's so much to like. Hits a lot of line drives. Super exciting player. Number 4, the electric Tink Hence. When healthy, he's got one of the best arsenals in minor league baseball, but when healthy is the key term here. Number 3, Kareem is really high on left-handed pitcher Cooper Jerpy, and it's easy to see why. There is so much to love. We've had Cooper on Birds on the Farm. He was great. If you want to see that, go check that out. He was so much fun to talk to. Really down-to-earth guy. Absolutely loved talking to him. Number 2, Quinn Matthews, guy that rocketed through the system last year. Another lefty. Seriously, so much to love. I believe he had that big game in college where he threw 160 pitches or something ridiculous like that, and a true Ironman feat. And then number 1, Kareem got it again this year, 3 for 3 with his first round guesses, and that's shortstop JJ Weatherholt. He could play anywhere, so he might be a shortstop at the big league level. He might be something else. Truly a different caliber of prospect than any of these other guys. So that's a really exciting list, Kareem. I mean, we could talk about all 10 of those guys for an hour apiece, but let's just get right into it. Who do you want to talk about first?
Number 6, right-hand pitcher Tekoa Roby.
Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, Roby had one of the more impressive spring training.
Absolutely.
Spring trainings for, Cardinals prospect. He was electric. We really saw his whole arsenal on display. Roby, when people talk about him, they always mention the curveball, right? It's a true 12-6 kind of shape, 82 to 84 miles an hour range, and played as his best, pitch last year. But I think his arsenal as a whole, when you're looking at the fastball that gets solid vert, sits in the mid 90s, the curveball, like I said, plus pitch, the slider is an offering where it's a very hard pitch. It's like high 80s to low 90s. Almost flirts with cutter-esque shape, but like a gyro slider, I would say. Um, it's a pitch that I'd like to see him just improve his feel a little bit more on. I do think that the offering has potential to work off that, ride four-seamer that he has against right-handed hitters specifically. But with it being a gyro offering, it is a platoon neutral pitch that, he could work in against lefties as well. And then the changeup gets serious arm side movement off that fastball. I thought that pitch really impressed me in spring training. So, I mean, with Roby, I think it's the arsenal as a whole. I will say, like, improving feel for some of the secondaries. We know that he has feel for that fastball. It didn't perform as well as you would like last year. I thought that he was a little bit in the middle of the zone too much, and right-hand hitters found great success against it last year. But I think finding some more feel for that slider and changeup, because I think his arsenal as a whole, his 4-pitch mix, has the potential to be something special. And when you have that mix, I think that is something that could work out in the rotation where you're facing hitters 3 times through a lineup. You really want to use all of your pitches and not just give one look. And I think Roby really presents that with his 4-pitch arsenal. And he was even tinkering with a 2-seamer in spring training, which it'll be interesting to see how he implements that to his arsenal. Because like I said, the 4-seamer did get touched up a little bit against double A competition last year. So I think, he's got a lot of potential. He might have the best raw stuff in the Cardinals organization.
Wow.
And when you have 4 pitches that grade out as well as, his 4 pitches do, I think there's a lot to be excited about with Takara Roby. I think there's mid-rotation upside here. But if he doesn't end up carving a role in the rotation, like let's say, the health continues to limit him, or for whatever reason, the damage suppression isn't what you want out of a starting pitcher, I do think that he could shift over to the bullpen where he'll immediately be one of the more impressive options that you could have in that bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, like, we're not doctors, but seriously, how much does the injury history with a guy like Takoro Roby, and then I'll also just like the elephant in the room is Tink Hence and the injury concern there. How much does that scare you? And what are the odds? Obviously, Hence is already on the IL this year, but what do you think the odds are that Roby can put together a full season for the Cardinals, or for the Cardinals farm system?
I think in a vacuum, I think Takoro Roby's injuries scare me a little bit more. We're talking about shoulder.
That's what's so scary. Yeah.
Like a lot of arm related stuff that he's dealt with throughout his minor league career. But yeah, I do think that there are serious, reliever risk. Like there should be a reliever risk tab on Takara Roby. I don't think this is someone that when you look at his minor league career, you see a pitcher that has been able to consistently give you innings. And I think that does raise some red flags. But at the same time, when you have the kind of stuff that he has,
you got to keep trying it.
And the arsenal that he has, as I talked about, there's starting pitching upside with him. And you have to continue to see if that's going to work out. But I do think that this year will be pivotal for him as he creeps up and gets closer to that major leagues. But again, like if he doesn't work out in the rotation, I do think that he has the electric stuff that could profile well in the back of the bullpen.
It's good to know. Who else jumps out to you in this group? Who do you want to talk about next?
We can go to Tink Hence. Starting the season on the 60-day IL with a rib issue, I believe.
Is it retroactive? I mean, we don't really know all that stuff. That's the problem.
I think 60-day IL means like he'll miss the first 60 games of the Memphis season at least. So that's the first couple months of the season where we're not going to get to see Tank Hens, which is kind of disappointing. And especially after last year, some of the nagging injuries that he had, the back and lat discomfort that he dealt with, and hence didn't show an ability. We've talked about this before, but to recover from start to start, maintain velocity, and some of that stuff is really concerning out of a starting pitching prospect. But in a similar vein to Takora Roby, I think that he has all the tools to be a starter at the next level. I know everyone talks about this stuff with Tank Hens, but I think what's more impressive, at least last year, was the pitchability, was the command that he has, was the presence that he has on the mound. And I think that's what really gets me excited with him. I think that his slider took a step up last year, was more of a two-plane shape heading into the season, but refined it into a gyro, true bullet shape, harder, with the help of Keenan Middleton, I believe. And that pitch played way better than his previous slider, and he found much better feel for that slider as opposed to the older one, and gave him a real weapon against right-handed hitters. The changeup, one of the best changeups in minor league ball. I don't think it's quite Luis Gastelum level of changeup, but in terms of just pure swing and miss last year, it was among the top in minor league baseball. Close to a 70% whiff rate last year, which is absolutely absurd. But yeah, the curveball brought that pitch back towards the end of the season. Fastball, this spring, we saw the vertical release height up, the extension down, which hurts his fastball specs in a vacuum, which it'll be curious to see, what that looks like at the next level. Is this someone that's going to be a lower launch four-seam guy, or is he going to be someone that's got more of a average release height and not the super fun characteristics for the four-seamer that he showcased at the Florida State League, which hurts his profile a little bit more. But if he can lean on that gyro and change up, bring in that hard curveball, I do think that he still has a ton of potential as a rotation piece. Maybe not like ace level upside with the Tank Hens, but more so middle of the rotation type that has plus command and control, really good pitchability, and someone that as long as he's able to show improvements in regards to recovering, making sure he's not dealing with any of those knick-knack injuries. I do think that Tank Hens could be a really solid starter for the Cardinals team for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that we're able to talk about this like big four pitching prospects, it shows you the Cardinal system has come a long way in the last few years. And it's by no means one of the best in the league or anything like that, but it's in much better shape than it was in, say, 2021, when the Cardinals were having trouble pumping out any pitching talent aside from Dakota Hudson. So things have gone in the right direction, I think it's safe to say.
Absolutely. I will say the pitching talent in this organization, I feel like it's been a while since we've had this many talented arms in the organization. And it's not just like up top with Quinn Matthews, Cooper Jerpy, Tank Hens. Like we've talked about, Chen Wei Lin's really exciting. Luis Gastelum, one of the more intriguing bullpen options that the Cardinals have, developed in recent memory.
Yeah.
Brian Holiday last year, third round pick. Really curious to see, how his season trends because I've heard rumblings that his velocity's up.
No way.
To that 93, 95 mile per hour range. And I think that could help him a ton. So overall, just a lot of talent, not just up top, but throughout the system, at the higher levels, at the lower levels. And you love to see that because the Cardinals have had some troubles in terms of developing their homegrown pitching, especially in terms of starting pitching. And I do think that there are guys on this list that are going to be starting pitchers at the next level, which is exciting.
It's huge. I mean, when you think about the fact that between like 2019 and 2024, really the only homegrown starter that made like long, like serious runs in the rotation was Dakota Hudson. Am I missing like I guess Johan Oviedo for a few weeks in 2020, but he clearly was not ready. Like to be able to just get back to the point where you're not paying $15 million to Kyle Gibson to fill in as your 4, right? Not having to pay $12 million a year for Steven Matz to be your 4 or your 5, and $18 million to Miles Michaelis to be your 5. I mean, that's a huge step for this organization as a whole. And yes, while we're seeing the effects already in the minor leagues, like it's going to affect the big league roster, and stuff like that may allow the Cardinals to go play in deeper waters in the free agent market, right? Like we have one of the most expensive rotations in the league, and it's got one of the lowest ceilings of any rotation in the league because they have to spend money at every spot. Just getting these innings for free or for $600,000, $700,000 league minimum, right? It's a huge difference in terms of how much money you have to commit to your rotation. So I couldn't be more excited about these developments. Is there anyone else in this top 10 that you really want to address?
Yeah, we can talk about Cooper Jerpy. I know we had him on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
He'll start the season on the IL. Not 100% sure why. Hopefully it's not arm related. I know that he dealt with the elbow inflammation last year, as he talked about on our podcast with him, and the prior season had a minor procedure on that same elbow. But as long as it's not arm related and we can see him sometime at the start of the season, he was placed on the 7-day IL as opposed to Tin Cans, who was placed on 60-day, which but not knowing what the injury is, like, I don't know if they just put him on there and they're waiting for results or anything like that. I have no idea what the injury is. So hopefully we get more clarity on that. But I think Jerpy is probably the pitcher in the Cardinals organization with the highest upside. I know we've talked about some names today, whether it be Chen-Wei Lin, who throws upper 90s, or Quinn Matthews, who we didn't talk about today, but I think Cardinals fans,
they know Quinn Matthews.
No Quinn Matthews. Yeah. I think Cooper Jerpy might honestly have the potential to be a front of the rotation pitcher, which is very exciting. High praise
coming from Kareem. I mean, seriously.
Listen, I'm not saying that that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
But I think there's at least the realm of possibilities where I could see him, end up as that, which is very exciting. The mix of just strikeout ability, being able to just induce whiffs at a high rate in the zone. But when hitters hit the ball against him, they're not doing any sort of damage against it. A lot of ground balls, a lot of pop outs, not a lot of value batted ball events, which if you had that blend of strikeout ability with, really, really exciting batted ball profile, I think that's what excites me about Cooper Jerpy. I think his pitch mix, his fastball, velocity was up a little bit last year, living in the 91 to 94 mile per hour range. Doesn't get a ton of vert on that fastball from that low slot, but his approach angle on that pitch is crazy from that angle, and he works it really well at the top of the strike zone. His sweeper gets a ton of sweep, and with that wide release that Cooper Jerpy has, it has even more expected sweep. So left-handed hitters, it's a really tough look going up against that sweeper. The cutter, he talked about that pitch, working with Jason Isringhausen. And I thought that offering took a step up last year.
Wow.
Gets a similar vert to that fastball, but is a pure gyro, gets around 0 inches of horizontal break. So he works that fastball well off that cutter. And like he talked about, another look to his arsenal, which is nice considering the velocity gap between his fastball and sweeper, especially having a pitch that's closer to that fastball velocity. And then the changeup is a unicorn pitch, -4 inches of induced vertical break. And I thought that he uses that pitch really well against right-handed hitters, is his go-to offering beyond the fastball in those matchups. And when you have that arsenal, fastball, sweeper, changeup, cutter, I think he's going to be able to get lefties out at the next level. I think he's going to be able to get righties out at the next level. And I hope he can stay healthy. But what I will say with Cooper Jerpy that I'm more optimistic about sticking as a starter as opposed to Tink Hence, especially, is that he has shown an ability to sustain velocity deep into his outings.
It's huge.
At the college level, he showed it. When he's been able to do it at the minor league level, he's been able to consistently have that velocity deep into starts, which I think checks off a lot of boxes. I don't worry about this guy being a starter as long as the health checks out, which I do think it will. Cross our fingers that this IL placement isn't anything crazy, but I'm high on Cooper Jerpy. I'm higher on him than just about everyone, and
it's amazing.
I really like his profile, and I think he could be someone that's pitching in a big league rotation for a really long time.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's super high praise, but I mean, Cooper Jerpy does everything right. He's unbelievable. He's so much fun to watch. I really do hope he gets healthy really quickly. It would stink to not get a full season out of him of production, because you're right. Like, he could factor in at some point really soon for this big league club. And they've got a couple of guys really on the cusp of being able to contribute, whether that's Tekoa Roby, Cooper Jerpy, or Quinn Matthews. So there's so much to love. And we didn't even talk about JJ Weatherholt, who, I mean, I'm not going to say can't miss, but he's really exciting. And there's a ton to love. The ceiling is sky high and the floor is really high too. And to go along with some of the guys the Cardinals have graduated in recent years, Jordan Walker looks really good so far to start the season. Victor Scott looks confident and in control to start the season. There's so much to like. So the system's in a good spot right now. These exciting pitchers are awesome. The guys they've just brought up in terms of the bats are awesome. They've got JJ Weatherholt. You've even got other guys farther down like Jimmy Crooks and Chase Davis that we didn't get a chance to talk about. There's so much to love. But this has been a super fun episode, Kareem. Obviously, love breaking this kind of stuff down with you. That's Kareem's top 30. For a look at the full list, it's on his Twitter page. Go check that out. Feel free to look up these guys. Kareem and other guys in the Cardinals community have GIFed them so you can see some plays they've made. The highlights are all over the place. So much fun to watch these guys develop. And obviously, we're really excited for what they're going to be this year. So again, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you guys next time.